I'll start things off with a classic cranberry almond biscotti. And biscotti in Italian means twice baked, and that's exactly what I have to do with this cookie recipe. It's a nice, easy recipe that starts mixing by hand in a large bowl. I'll add 3/4 of a cup of sugar to start things off. What biscotti is all about is the crunch, but it can't be so tough that you can't bite through it. But yet it has to have enough structure that when you dunk it in your coffee, it doesn't completely fall apart. So I find for this recipe, using vegetable oil works best, 1/2 cup. Two whole eggs. And also a little lemon zest to the cookie recipe. I'll give this a little whisk. And while I don't add vanilla extract to this recipe, because I'm using almonds, I'll add about 3/4 of a teaspoon of almond extract. This is the point where I like to stir in my nuts and fruits. That way they get coated with the wet batter and actually start plumping up. It'll keep them from burning when I bake them that second time. So I have 3/4 of a cup of raw almonds. And it's important that they're raw because they will have a chance to be toasted after I slice them for that second baking. I'll also add 1/2 cup of dried cranberries and just stir this to coat them. There we go. Now for the dry ingredients, and I'll sift them over top of the mixture. First, 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Two teaspoons of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and also, to build in another complementary flavor that goes well with coffee, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And I'll sift that in. Now I'll stir this just until it's combined. This is a rather sticky dough, so to keep it from being too sticky, I'm gonna flour my work surface and then turn this out to shape it. But I do like a little coating of flour just to make it easier to handle, so it's not sticking. I divide it in half, and then just roll it into a log about 12 inches, like so. I've got my baking tray ready and parchment lined. And it doesn't matter if it squishes as you move it around. Once you get it to the tray, you can line it up, and then you want to give it a little pat evenly all the way across, and that allows it to spread and take on that textbook biscotti shape that we know. Do the same with this one. The finishing touch before these go into the oven is a bit of egg wash. An egg mixed with 2 tablespoons of water promotes a nice even browning and adds just the right amount of shine on top. All right, these are ready for the oven, which I've preheated to 325, and they take about 35 minutes. The nice thing about biscotti, if you're not sure if they're ready to come out of the oven at this point, a little bit under, a little bit over, well, it's okay. You have to bake them again anyhow. Wow. You know what? It always amazes me how biscotti expand during this first baking, and they turn that nice golden brown. But now, they're not ready to slice yet. I have a batch that I pulled out a little while ago, and they've cooled for about 1/2 an hour, basically until you can hold the tray, but it's still warm. And now they're set and easy to slice. I like to use a serrated knife, and just like slicing a loaf of bread, you cut right through. The reason you have to bake the biscotti twice is because if you weren't, they would go stale at this point. But after that second baking, well, they'll just keep in a cookie jar for weeks. Except they won't last that long. When you arrange your biscotti on the tray, you want to arrange them upright. And these are ready to go back in the oven. I keep the oven at 325, and this time it takes only about 20 minutes, and keep an eye on it. You're looking for an even golden brown color. So here I have some that have already come out of the oven. Look at that beautiful golden color. And here we go, that textbook shape. You've got the cranberry, the nicely toasted almonds. It is nicely crunchy, yet tender.